Hey everyone, welcome to Simplexity, where we simplify the complexities of life and bring a little curiosity and contemplation to meaningful and sometimes difficult conversations. I'm your host, Alyson Stoner. The simple question, who am I, and the bottomless bag of answers into which our hand grabs repeatedly directs and interprets our lives profoundly, from our earliest memories to how we enter relationships to whether we'll search for meaning or just a means to an end. The possibilities for what one human might experience among 7.7 billion of the same kind is boggling and inextricably connected to every other organism and planetary matter. Think about it. Identity is the bedrock for so many things. Conversations, differentiation, democratic politics, marketing campaigns, you name it. And I believe our identities are like a mansion with many rooms, views, and trap doors worth uncovering. In fact, our future kind of depends on this curiosity and contemplation. But like a teacher told me once, if you anticipate this work to be automatically strenuous, draining labor, come back when you have a sense of humor. So, imagine MTV Cribs is inviting you to give a tour of your place, aka your identity. No pressures or judgments, simply peel back the curtains one at a time, notice and describe what you find. This is the first of many adventures for us, and our guests, the experts, can help with the heavy lifting. With that said, today we are going straight for the motherlode. We're talking about the formidable force called power, with a woman who has experienced and engaged with every position on the power spectrum: complete powerlessness, harnessing her own power for survival, and successfully empowering other people, and facing the ugliest, most corrupt and abusive forms of power firsthand. Prepare to be inspired. She's currently in the UK, so we're piping her in today, but we'll, of course, have plenty of folks joining in studio. Mariéme Jamme is a Senegalese businesswoman and technologist. She's also a former refugee who was sex trafficked during childhood. She did not have a formative education and taught herself how to read and write, and now is at the forefront of the technology revolution that is transforming Africa. She's the CEO of Spot One Global Solutions, founder of iConscience, and her recent venture, I Am the Code, is a movement aiming at mobilizing governments, businesses, and investors to support girls and young women in science, technology, engineering, arts, math, and design. If you haven't figured out how she's on the show today, return to the part where I talk about power. Take a listen. Miss Mariéme, given your extraordinary journey, what does the word power mean to you, and how has its meaning changed over the years as your life and positions in society have changed?
Wow, that's an amazing question. First of all, thank you for inviting me to your podcast. Power means freedom for me, because when I was growing up as a child, I didn't have a power to make some changes. When I was taken away from my country, I didn't have power to do anything. And so I think now I'm in a position to, make people understand what power is, meaning that you can make decisions, or you can fight for yourself or fight for other people. For me, power is freedom. And I think over the years it has changed because I've managed to, identify, how to use power to change the life of other people and change systems and help government and help women and girls and growing up in marginalized communities and LGBTQ guys and people who really need their voice to be heard. Yeah, and trying to get the power, show them that they have power inside of them. I think that I managed to gradually, as I grow up as a leader, to help people understand what power is. And for me, power is absolutely freedom.
I love that. And I don't believe that your success is a coincidence. What do you think the connection is between your early experiences and where you are today as a businesswoman and global influencer?
Yeah, you're right. There's no coincidence. At the age of 5 years old, I was abandoned by my mother, and many young girls growing up across the world today are suffering the same situation. And when I was 11, I didn't have the power to stop my Quranic teacher. My country is a Muslim country. You have these men who were seen as the powerful guys, and everybody counted on them. And they, behind the scenes, they abused girls who were vulnerable like myself. And at 13, I was taken away from my country again to go on the street of Paris. And so those accumulation of difficulties and pain and in a tumultuous childhood I had, I guess gave me determination to grow as a young woman, but make sure that, many young women and girls growing up across the world don't suffer as I suffered as a child. And now I have a power and the influence to change people's mind and heart and show them what empathy and compassion society we should be in helping other people, but also making the right decisions. They can make decisions. They can really change things if they want to. People, if someone wants to make a difference, they can do that. As I grow as a leader, I know that I can do that. I've got the connections. I can go and talk to people about, why a young girl should be safe in a slum in Africa, because we need to put the safeguarding system in place. We need to make sure, that the people around her are DBS checked, like in the UK. They have good criminal record. They don't have a criminal record, or they're decent human beings who just want to help other people. So I use my power to change systems and also make sure that people are safe when they sit somewhere to read and learn and feed their brains with information. They can do it in a very free in a very free way. So that's what I'm doing right now for women and girls across the world.
One of my personal goals in the last year was to expand my business as an independent creator. And so there was a class on analytics and, staying authentic on Instagram. I also was able to learn about personal branding and how to craft a social media presence effectively, and even leadership skills, things that just had me thinking differently and approaching life and creativity with fresh eyes. And truly, the possibilities are endless. So if you're interested in pursuing a new hobby or returning to a lifelong passion project, Skillshare has classes for you. And I've got a huge hookup for the Simplexity family. If you go to Skillshare.com/stoner, you can get 2 whole months free of unlimited access to thousands of classes. Seriously. Do you know how much your life could change in 2 months? Just dedicate 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour a day to learning a new skill. And obviously, I want to hear all about it. Make sure you go to Skillshare.com/stoner. Once again, that's Skillshare.com/stoner for 2 months of unlimited access to thousands of classes for free. So for many of us, we're obviously privileged to be able to read and write from a young age, and we have access to education. And here you are, you taught yourself how to do these things. What change happened within from the moment you attempted to learn how to read and write to the first sentence that you constructed for yourself and said, "This is a new tool. I've done it"?
Wow, that's a brilliant question. When I say power is freedom, information is also freedom, because once you know how to read and write your first alphabet. So I wrote my first alphabet when I was 16 years old. I didn't have any information in my head. I didn't know so many things. I had really no idea. I was in a country where I could be abused and people used to shout at me. I didn't know my human rights. I didn't know that I could have ice cream. I didn't know I could buy things. I didn't know I could have money. I didn't know I could have a bank account. And because I couldn't read and write, I didn't understand what I was signing for. So I didn't know I could have a passport or even have an ID card. What information gives you, and when you start reading and writing and have a basic literacy and numeracy, you understand data around you and understand information. And I think that the first time I started reading my first alphabet, and I got my book in my local library, and I just started really understanding what biology was, what mathematics was. I love numbers, and I was very fascinated with symbols and how numbers, the shapes. I was fascinated with shapes, and I like small things that I could repeat and recite. Then the information didn't come straight away. I couldn't understand what I was reading just because of the lack of education from the beginning. But I think once I start understanding that 2 + 2 = 4, and I was really fascinated, and I wanted to do more and more and more. And so that's why my brain works in a different way. I've been always fascinated with numbers and shapes, and that's how I become a coder in learning, in getting to put numbers together. And I think that we, as our society, we do take what we know for granted. And there are many people today who don't have a basic information, even knowing that they are human beings, and they can actually they can have a freedom and they can have information in their head. It's fascinating when you realize that there are over 131 million young women and girls who don't have access to education today. We have a lot to do as a society.
Yeah. And you now, speaking of languages, you are multilingual. You speak 7 or more languages. What are they?
I speak a lot of languages, but I also speak computers languages. So I'm a coder, I'm a full stack developer. So I speak coding languages. I speak Java, Python, Ruby, and I speak French and English, and now I'm learning Portuguese and Mandarin. So and for someone who didn't have an education like me, I speak a computer language and a normal language.
Wow. Now, tell me about I Am the Code and how it's making a difference in individuals' lives, as well as Africa's role in the tech race.
I Am the Code, again, is based on trying to give people digital freedom. And so I set it up to just go and help young women and girls, and also now boys growing up across the world with digital poverty, where we have a digital divide. Many people will not have access to computers, or, as you said earlier, don't have access to information. So I know that when a young girl know how to code or can build her own websites and can monetize her knowledge to get money and feed her community or her family, her community changed. So I Am the Code was set up to make sure that policymakers across the world and investors and private sector guys and businesses start paying attention to this inequality in the tech world. I teach young girls how to code and basic coding languages and help them to understand the societal issues, climate change, for example, which is making many young women and girls across the world poorer. They're losing their spaces, their homes. They are forced to live outside in Nepal, in Haiti, in many places. They don't have a place to live. They don't have bathrooms, or what you and I take for granted in the West. They don't have it. So I feel that if we can use technology as a way of helping them understand their environment, hopefully changes will happen. And so now we're in 65 countries. And we taught within just 2 years 15,000 girls how to code.
Wow.
We're growing across the world. And Africa is really dominating the world because we leapfrogged as a continent. And when everybody thought that we couldn't do it, mainly people were focusing on poverty, which we now have in the West, in the United States, and in the UK. We have a lot of poverty now. And so we're now leapfrogging, and I think the good news is that we can now take what we learned as a continent, the kind of like innovation we have right now, we can share that globally, which we're doing with M-Pesa in Kenya. We now have many innovations growing up across the continent that we can now share across the channel.
Yes, you said in an interview with BBC News that Africa is no longer a colonial subject. It must be seen as an investment opportunity that Britain is losing out on, often because of our prejudices. This may seem very obvious, but for those listening who are maybe unfamiliar with the situation, what are these deeply rooted, lingering prejudices from outside forces? And then what are the disempowered beliefs from within the countries that are enabling this cycle?
For example, many people don't know that Britain and France colonized in 52 countries. In France, 17 African countries were colonized by France. And so the legacy is still there. But I think that for many decades, they have forgotten these countries. But Africa and Asia, we didn't wait for people to come and rescue us. And now you've seen there's a complete shift You see Britain, for example, they're coming out of the EU. And for many years, they've forgotten Africa with the resources, the extractive we have, the land we have, so many things we have across the continent. We've been vegan for many, many decades now. Vegan is very popular in the United States. And so now you have this shift of culture. I think my point was that we need to start paying attention to emerging countries, and leaders are growing up in those countries. So like in Rwanda, for example, they are absolutely focused on climate change issues. They have over 65% of women in parliament. Gender equality is not even an issue in that country. Leaders are women and girls are setting up their businesses. Entrepreneurs are developing the local solutions to solve local problems. So I think there's need for globalization, but also there's a need for education and learning from each other, rather than just thinking the power is just in one direction. The power should be both ways, and we need to start reciprocating this knowledge and have this transaction where the transaction doesn't have to be financial, but it also need to be a transaction of skills.
Mm-hmm. To that point, you're creating with I Am the Code a new economic model for girls beyond just being receivers of aid. You're creating tech hubs that help place girls and women on projects and in networks. What are the main challenges you're facing with the current market and fulfilling your mission?
Well, I mean, the current challenge we face is that we have a bank of innovators in Africa, amazing innovators. But again, the West doesn't trust yet Africa 100%. They still think that we have human rights issues, we have war, we have so many issues in the continent. And so they focus more on the negativity rather than seeing us as opportunity. And so those are the biggest challenges, selling our continent, making sure that people know that actually Africa is a healing continent. You can go and learn and do so many things in there, and make friends and really do business and work with Africans. So that's one of our biggest challenge. But also we have a challenge in African government, for example, not looking after their people properly. I work in a refugee camp in Kenya, where this is one of the biggest refugee camp in East Africa right now, where we have over 180,000 people live in the camp. And where 18,000 of them are women and girls, where those girls will never come out of the camp. They've been growing up in a refugee camp for all these years. And so I think it's time for the African government to give those refugees a chance to come out. And so we as an organization, we're very proud to bring people at the camp, not as tourists, but also to see how resilient those girls are. They've been going through difficulty in their life. They lost their moms, their dad. They have nothing, absolutely nothing. But despite their difficulties, they are staying proud and dignified. They're working extremely hard. They're very, very good in schools. And so what I thought to do, rather than leaving them there, waiting for the world and for the West to rescue them, I thought as an African woman who've been through, in similar conditions where society was, forgotten me as a young girl. Now, now I've got a power and freedom to make a decision. So I went to the camp and asked some of the partners to get the girls to learn how to code, and ultimately, they need to be part of the digital world. And so now the girls are coding. They're thinking about their businesses, and we will be there in about 2 weeks' time. To meet the girls. So and in the next 10 years, one of those girls will come out from the camp and emerge as a tech leader. But we need to start now, because if we don't start now, it's never going to happen.
So many of you know I grew up working on sets, and that often meant freezing cold sound stages, ultra hot and stuffy windowless sound booths, and a variety of extreme weather conditions that we had to pretend weren't happening on camera. I would try holding a hot tea mug or, sucking on an ice cube, but I learned that scientifically, when we are thermally uncomfortable, it also increases stress, decreases productivity, and disrupts sleep. So In comes the Emberwave bracelet, which in my opinion is a perfect expression of science and technology working together for you to live your best life. It was named one of Time Magazine's best inventions of 2018, and it was created by 3 MIT scientists. Swoon. And now I'm wearing one. All you do is press to activate for a burst of heating or cooling on your wrist, and the sensation pairs with your body and mind to make you feel more comfortable in a matter of minutes. You could use it, I don't know, like at your over air-conditioned office. You could use it at restaurants, on airplanes, after a workout, in the mall, in the car, crowded public places. Honestly, it's a great way to find comfort in unpredictable climates. Ooh, and there's also a fall asleep mode that I've been using to help me wind down as I decompress from my day. So whether you're the person who needs a mini air conditioner or portable heater everywhere you go, it's all on your wrist with Emberwave. Exciting news! I have a special offer for our Simplexity fam. You can get $30 off yours if you go to emberwave.com/stoner. That's EMBRWAVE.com/STONER. Get yours and then we can be twins. Cute. If there are 3 ways I like to approach health and well-being, it's with transparency, it's keeping it affordable, and it's making it minimalistic. I have a very busy schedule, so I like to keep things simple and straightforward, and I also don't want my health decisions to harm anyone or anything else along the way. Dun da da! Enter Ritual, the obsessively researched vitamin for women. Love! So get this. Ritual's essentials have the nutrients most of us aren't getting from our food without the shady additives and ingredients you can't pronounce. If you want to check their sources, they're out there for the whole world to see, which I fully support, and they're also conveniently vegan-friendly, sugar-free, non-GMO, gluten-free, and they have all allergen-free ingredients. It's really simple. Once a day, 2 capsules, 9 nutrients. And a subscription is super easy to start. They'll deliver it straight to you. For my frugal friends, it's only $1 a day to have all the essential nutrients your body needs every month, no strings attached. And if you're like me and don't eat breakfast at the same time, I love that you don't have to take it on a full stomach. Also, fellow vegans, no fishy aftertaste with the omega-3s. Am I right? It's kind of a no-brainer, really. And right now, Ritual is offering our Simplexity fam 10% off during your first 3 months. So, fill in the gaps in your diet with Essential for Women. Think of it as a small step that helps support a healthy foundation for your body. Just visit ritual.com/stoner to start your ritual today. That's ritual.com/STONER for 10% off your first 3 months. Enjoy! You do an exercise with the kids. You have them write their biographies when they start the program. Can you tell me?
Yeah, they do write their biographies. Yeah, they love writing their biographies, and they all want to become Mariéme Jamme, which is not very good.
I think it's pretty good.
You know, one of the things that really touched me when we went to the North Pole together was your passion and your authenticity. And I do show our picture together when we were there.
Oh,
so they're starting to know other people now, people like yourself.
Oh, good. Okay, do you have a special moment or a story that one of the kids told to you that really stood out?
All the time, Alyson, all the time. And I cry so much, because they are so amazing human beings, and they're just so beautiful and so authentic and so raw. I have got this young girl, many of them actually, but this one, I'm always watching her. She recited the United Nations Charter by heart, literally. Wow. And then I couldn't believe it. So when we came to the camp, she said, I heard about your name and I want to say something. I said, go ahead. And she said, I know the United Nations Charter by heart. And she started reciting the charter. This is the charter by Eleanor Roosevelt. So what? And then she gave me examples of why young girls in the camp should understand the human rights. And so I took that video to the UN, and I showed it to a couple of folks at the UN, and people were like really bursting in tears.
Yeah.
And this is a young refugee girl who grew up she was born in the camp. But she knows the United Nations Charter. I don't think she really knows what the Charter, has the implication globally and all of that. But the fact that she could recite it in front of me to show me that she knows her human right and she wants to become the next United Nations Secretary General was very touching for me. And then that gave me hope that, to your point at the beginning, if you inform people and give them information, the little information you give them can really change their life. And she's now a very young, sweet, passionate lady who likes poems, and she likes spoken words.
Wow.
She's very, very good.
How can we support the initiative from the West, or whoever is tuning in, listening?
Absolutely. I mean, the people are supporting the I Am the Code initiative, by listening, but also by just realizing that actually there is another world out there. People are suffering, and we need to, as a collective society, we need to do something about this. People are not looking for charity or aid; they're looking for human connection, and they're looking for someone to just say, "I've seen you. I will do something about this."
And empowerment, right?
Empowerment, total empowerment. Also give them hope. When you come from the background we came from, every day is a hope for us. Every day is a freedom. You put discipline together and hard work to achieve what you want to achieve. Because in the 1980s, 1990s, I never thought I'm going to be sitting and having a podcast with you. So, and every day is a hope. So people like us, we live in hope, and every day is a new day. And I think that's how we maintain our sanity.
So inspiring. Can you describe what images come to mind when you imagine outer power, sort of the force of power that you see and feel in the world, and then an image that represents your inner power, the force you hold and wield within?
Every day I think about when I was at the tube station in France. That was the day I was picked up by the French police. That was the day I knew that there was something that will change. And then I think that today I see a sea of young girls who are so looking for my help, and it's overwhelming. The amount of need and just small conversations. And I received a message from a young woman who said to me, "I am so lucky to be alive because you are next to me." And so those kind of conversations, when I go to bed, I think about the responsibility, but with the amount of responsibility on my shoulder.
Yeah, and I mean, you are truly a maverick and a powerhouse. You're doing so much good every moment, every day, and your investment in other people, I'm speechless, truly. And however we can support, we will continue doing so and playing our own role within our own communities, because not everyone is meant to solve the same problem.
No.
We all have to do our own part in our own topics and areas. What advice, there's just a few questions left. What advice do you have for people who are currently experiencing powerlessness or feeling disempowered?
I mean, just the podcast you're doing is giving us power, because we are in a totally different world. The world is divided, but the fact that you have us again, give us opportunity, means that someone will listen. And to give you an example, we had a podcast from a lady in the US, and she heard about the girls at the camp, and she took that podcast to big meetings, and then people were really overwhelmed to hear the voice of the girls, because the world don't know what their voice look like. And they didn't even know what my voice was, look like. And so I think the fact that you have our voices on a podcast and then our stories to share, that is very, very empowering for us. And I think that for the world is really to be together. There's so many people who are suffering, Alyson, but we all have power in us. But someone like you need to, or like me or someone else, we need to hold people's hand and we need to pay attention. Pay attention to something we don't know. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable, it's overwhelming, it's too much, and because we're all busy and have busy lives. But I think sometimes we just need to see, something in us that just pay attention. And I think that what you're doing now is paying attention to our stories, and this is how people get to know who we are and get to be inspired, because we didn't have a choice when we were growing up. It wasn't our fault to be born in those places where harm was done to us, neglect was present. Now we're in a position where we can inspire others. The power is really being able to reciprocate and listen every day and be grateful for what we have. We are, myself and the girls included, one of the biggest things the girls talk about all the time is gratitude. They sing gratitude like daily. Even despite they live in the most bad place, hot, really, really hot and terrible place, every day they feel that they're very, very grateful to live. When you're breathing every day, you don't have any illnesses, and you can go and buy stuff. You can go you can do your stuff. You can wake up and do things. And some people, they can't wake up and do things. So for us, we're very grateful to just be alive.
Final question. What is the single best way we can use our power right now to shape the world?
It's just by listening and sharing, opening our heart, paying attention to every single detail. We have everything. We have connections, we have money, we have everything. But I think what is inside of us is being able to pay attention to other people and not being afraid of paying attention. Most of us, we're very scared to pay attention, because when you pay attention, it's very difficult. Paying attention, in a very disciplined way can make a massive difference.
I love that. And to not center our comfort, to center the stories that need to be heard and work beyond our privilege and comfort.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank
Let's
you.
pay attention to love.
Yes. Yes, that is the soundbite for forever. Now, if we want to keep up to date with I Am the Code, is there a site or an account to follow?
Absolutely. There is iamthecode.org, and we have a mission to train 1 million women and girls to learn how to code by the year 2030. And you can become a volunteer or a mentor. The girls need some mentoring right now. So yeah, absolutely, we need everyone to get to meet those girls who lives in the most deprived places in the world, but they're very strong, powerful women, and they need your support.
And our future bosses.
Absolutely, they're future CTOs.
Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
You, Alyson. Thank you.
It was nice to see your face again.
I know.
It's been a long time. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Alyson. Thank you for everything you're doing for the world. We appreciate you.
Very much likewise. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Thank
Alyson.
you. I'm honored to have met Mariéme during a trip with Future Talks, a community that connects youth and leaders from all sectors and continents around the most important discussions of our time. To support Mariéme's mission, visit iamthecode.org. Now, to end each episode, I'm extracting 3 key takeaways from our guests and turning them into mantras that you can repeat this coming week. This is designed to activate your personal transformation, so think of these affirmations as a gift that keeps on giving. I'll say each twice, and then you can repeat the third in the empty space. First, power and information are freedom. I will not take for granted what I know. Power and information are freedom. I will not take for granted what I know. I will pay attention to love. I will pay attention to love. I am grateful for all I have. I am grateful for all I have. Thank you so much for listening to Simplexity. I'm so glad to be having these conversations with you all. It would mean so much if you could take a second to rate and review this podcast. And if you haven't already, click subscribe to be first to hear each week's episode. I'm Alyson Stoner, signing off on Simplexity. It's anything but small talk. Peace.